you come up, you know, this is October, Halloween month. Can you come up with the scariest, most Halloween-ish critter that you've seen this week?
The most scariest. Let's see. It wasn't really scary, but the octopus that had all of the parasites on top of it. Do you remember that one?
Yes, yes. The leeches.
Yeah, that might be a scary
Leeches
situation
are
for.
always scary. Yeah, that could be very Halloween-ish.
Yeah.
I was thinking the cat shark.
I'd say the starfish on top of the rockfish.
The starfish
yeah.
eating the rockfish. Well, I don't know if it was eating. I think it was just trying to attempt to eat.
It was going to succeed, and I agree. That was scary.
Even if something's attempting to eat me, like if I were a fish
and you couldn't get away,
that would be scary.
It would be really scary. I have to concur there.
Even if it's attempted predation, that's scary.
And I know what Rennie would say the scariest thing we saw was...
Hagfish.
Oh, really? I thought you were going to say sea spider.
No, I like those.
You like those?
I like the sea spiders.
I like the sea spiders too. I just thought Rennie seemed horrified every time we came across one.
Well, I just, you know, in that moment, I was thinking about it being on the foot of my bed.
What if it was?
Well, see, it can still, like, I'd be less scared of a hagfish on the surface because it's not going anywhere.
It's
not going to be able to get
mucus all over you.
You wouldn't be concerned if you woke up and there was a hagfish at the foot of your bed?
I'd be concerned, but I'd be like, all right, well, this is, the situation can be, you know, diffused.
I'd be pretty concerned.
But the sea spider is like me.
Sea spiders probably can't walk very well on land.
With a broom. Trying to get rid of that thing.
With the broom.
This has turned from like scary things to Rennie chasing a sea spider.
Yeah, it's not scary things, it's just the things that I'm scared of. Yeah. Or like a giant sea spider. And just like there's no like face, you know, it's just it's very alien, like War of the Worlds, you know.
Sounds to me like the sea spider is the scariest thing you've seen.
Yeah, it's turning that way.
Our viewers would like to know, what is the current plan? So we're still headed to the Bodega Canyon, or we're still in the Bodega Canyon, just to a different area?
No, we're actually just coming to the surface. We're recovering now.
Oh.
Yeah, we have to have the vehicles on deck at midnight, and in order to process all the samples and get into port on time in the morning.
Well, our time here is coming to a close.
You never know what you're going to see in the water column, though. We've got a couple more hours at least to look at blue water.
Like we saw that grenadier and that sea spider a little while ago. I saw a shrimp recently.
They saw a sperm whale in the Gulf of Mexico.
That's true.
Yeah.
Greg's keeping the dreams alive.
We, let's see, we've seen an oarfish. We've seen
the oarfish are cool.
Oarfish are cool. Sunfish?
Yeah, at the surface sometimes on the
really
surface.
Great.
And let's see, we've seen a
swordfish.
Ooh, that's really
There's always the squid layer.
So if a sperm whale came around to investigate her, would we stop and take a look?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a way.
The truth is it's more it going to be taking a look at us, and we're not going to have the ability to keep up with or move with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we would just stop in the water column and let it visit us.
Shrimp.
Yeah. See, there you go.
Yeah.
Shrimp. Yeah. Somebody will miss it.
Well, as we come up, we're seeing more and more marine snow.
Yeah.
Lots more little planktonic critters.
So, scientists,
And if I can keep
what
this.
is the most realistic depth that we'd have to be at to see a whale, like to start seeing whales?
Oh, well,
How deep
it's-
can they dive?
Isn't it are beaked whales the ones that go super
beaked
deep?
whales can go super deep. Sperm whales can go
whales can,
super
yeah.
deep. Elephant seals can go super deep.
Define super deep. I feel like this might be one of those games like with geologists where they're like, yeah, we're going to go look at fresh lava. And I'm like, this is awesome. And they're like, it's only 100 years old. It's super fresh. I'm like, that's not what I was expecting.
I want the
That's true.
vehicles to be in danger. I expected molten.
I think Will Sellers did that. He was the one who put the titanium hook into a lava tube and brought up fresh lava.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Was he in Alvin?
Yeah,
hopefully?
let's go ahead and
Not.
I think he might have been in Alvin.
That would in Alvin. Jeez.
He's got a lot of great stories. He did one where they found like liquid sulfur, I guess, and they wanted to sample it, and he ended up just but they couldn't get the vehicle, or I don't know if it was the vehicle or Alvin, close enough to it. So he took one of the poles, like one of the recovery poles, and hose clamped to it a old tomato can, like tomatoes
Yeah.
from the galley.
Uh-huh.
And after washing it out, and just dunked that down into the sulfur and recovered this massive chunk of it.
That's cool. Now, I don't know if he's still upkeeping it, but he was doing a blog for a while.
Yeah.
Stories from the Deep. I think it was Stories from the Deep or Stories of the Deep. Will Sellers. And you can find some of his fun stories from Alvin's early days.
Okay, Cuvier's beaked whale, 9,000.
816 feet.
So what is that? 3,000 meters. So we could be seeing beaked whales, sperm whales.
Sperm whales are
Yeah, a little bit shallower.
7,382 feet as the deepest.
And what about elephant seals?
6,998 feet.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm hopeful then.
Okay. Keep your eyes peeled. You never know.
On high pack? That would be the USBL. The erratic. We're deep. We're really deep. It's much better on ROV Nav because I've turned down the time, and also it's single points. That I don't like when there's a line connecting them. It makes you think that you've got data where you don't.
So on recovery, we do the verts at 100%, right? And usually you'll do that through your Z-bias, because then you can control the vehicle while you're still coming up, and it's not part of stick lock or anything. But we use our lats to blow a separate channel of water to knock the vert channel kind of out of the vehicle. And it works successfully, but if you do too much lats, you can watch our pressure here. For the most part, we're at 27. We go into 26 every now and then, but most part we're at 27. If I go 100%,
Wait, where are we looking to see 27?
oh, the hydraulic pressures. So it's on Herc, right? So I can blow out my pressures, and then I'm not going to be coming up as quickly.
Mm.
So it's kind of a balance between getting enough, and I like to have a little bit of forward way on, just because then you know that the vehicles are away from each other. Some of the pilots will nix the forward way, but I don't think it buys you that much. But we were doing 16 to 17 meters per minute before, and now we're able to hit 21. Right. Yeah. I did. Banana?
As well.
Our viewers would like to know what's your favorite thing to do when you're bored on watch.
We don't get bored on watch.
Is anyone hoping to see anything while we are on our ascent?
Yes, whales.
Whale.
Or
Another
anything,
shrimp.
Literally anything. I'm just excited when I see things.
But that's why we were looking up depth of marine mammals. Beaked whale, sperm whale, and elephant seal are all on my list
Yes.
of things I would like to see before we reach the surface.
She's getting us excited.
I'd like to see one of each, please.
Yes, me too. Not too. I won't be greedy and need like 3 or 4. I would just like 1.
Now you have to do a full wish. You have to do the
yeah,
full
yeah.
statement
Okay.
because that seems to work with you.
Affirm it.
I
Go
wish
for it.
to see whales or sea lions.
Well, you wanted to see
Elephant
whales
seal.
in the water column before we
I'll
reach
be
the
specific.
surface. Because I
wish
we can
to
see whales at
in the
distance.
water column before we reach surface tonight.
And an elephant seal.
And an elephant seal. I'm not being greedy. I'm just, just saying.
The back row is being greedy.
I mean, this would be a good place.
So the next expedition will be Monterey Bay, is that correct? So that will be the next dive. Right now we are concluding the expedition for Cordell Bank National Marine Sanctuary. The Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. That expedition begins on October 13th and will last to October 18th. Which is your favorite dive location? Would it be Cordell Bank or Greater Farallones?
Well, you have Greater Farallones in the back row, so Greater Farallones.
She was just like, that's easy.
Just asking for us to get in trouble.
Both
Hey, the audience
sanctuaries,
wants to know, you know?
both sanctuaries are very valuable and have interesting benthics animals.
Yes.
And unique qualities.
No, I said that because I know Danny's listening. She's the research coordinator for Cordell Bank National Marine Sanctuary. I'm just pulling her leg. Actually, if you go to Cordell Bank's National Marine Sanctuary webpage, they have beautiful videos of the bank itself. And it's absolutely spectacular. It's this beautiful pink. If you like the color pink, red, and all shades in between, that's the place for you to go. Lots and lots of fish. The highest peaks are in the kind of low 100s as far as feet underwater. And just beautiful, beautiful area. Really deserving to be protected. Yeah.
How do we get funded? If you check the nautiluslive.org website at the bottom, you can see the organizations that fund for these expeditions to be possible. Someone in the audience would like to know, do you ever have to clean any animals or marine snow off of the ROVs after a dive?
Just this week we came up with a rockfish
Yeah.
stuck in the front of the ROV.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And there was a sea urchin that had fallen somewhere underneath the tool tray.
What about all the krill?
Oh yeah, a lot of krill and all the slurp jars, everything like that, and all the Niskin bottles.
The ROV gets rinsed off after every dive with fresh water as well, just to remove excess salt or any little particles so that it stays in better shape.
Yep, and we make sure to clear out all the sample jars and the sample boxes and the Niskins.
Make sure there's no fish caught in them.
Yeah. That was in the crane. I haven't seen that part of it.
One of our audience members would like to know, what is our visibility range?
Wait, what was the question?
What is our visibility range?
It's really
Tens
only
of meters, right?
yeah, if that.
Yeah.
You know, it's say 10 meters. You're only, as much as we've explored an area, we've really only seen where our light pool has shined, and it's really not that far.
Yeah, if you think of, Brandy, if you think of the tube in a roll of toilet tissue, you hold that up to your eye.
Yep.
That's kind of what you're looking at.
I would say go if you've
maybe
ever
two.
gone for a walk at night with a headlamp on.
Mm-hmm. That's a good analogy.
I've also heard a comparison to flying around with a helicopter that has a string with a flashlight hanging down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to...
That you have a little bit of control over.
Right. When we're in this deep and in canyons like this, putting Herc where you want it to go is kind of hard because you got to put Argus that's not in danger against going against a wall, but you're really, like you said, just dangling a flashlight on a string for 3,000 meters.
As a experiment or experiencing kind of thing for students, if you go to, if say there's a landing on a second story,
yeah,
that you can dangle a string with a couple of washers on the end of it,
right,
and try to run that through a maze without hitting anything.
Right.
You
and
know,
that's my
that's
job.
like, yeah, that's moving Argus around.
Ah, I like that one.
Yeah.
It's a really good.
Look
way
out,
to start.
Alexander.
Yeah. Set up a domino maze, and then if they knock any over, it's
That is cool.
game over.
Well, and the truth is, and it's even better outside because you have the wind, and here we have the currents, and sometimes the currents are doing weird things underwater.
Right.
Yeah, they go in one direction at one depth, and then they go in an opposite direction at a
Yeah.
deeper
Certainly,
depth.
Yeah.
We even had an experience recently. We rounded a corner on something that we were going around, and then all of a sudden we just got blown off of the
Yeah.
off of the wall by like 40 meters.
One of the craziest things is the equatorial undercurrent. So from around 50 meters deep to up to 400, but we were seeing it around till like 200 or 300. The current is like the opposite 180 of what the surface currents are. So we put the vehicles in, they go down, and it's a 3-knot current going the opposite direction.
Yeah, there's nothing you could do about it. You
Yeah.
just got whipped around.
So launch is like, okay, that was interesting and fun, but on recovery, when you need the vehicles to be streaming out behind the ship, and then they suddenly go under the ship for the last couple hundred meters, it's a little bit hairy. You have to just know that at the last 50 meters, it's going to be acting pretty normal again. But
But yeah, Nautilus has a really great system though, because I've seen where Herc goes into an aircraft carrier hangar on the Independence, a sunken ship, large sunken ship, and Argus is guiding it in with the radar and everything. Went in, kind of took a peek around, and went out.
yeah.
And that wasn't a lot. That was not a large opening either.
Yeah, stuff like that's really neat. We
It takes a lot of concerted effort to get that.
in the Galapagos before Rennie's time as a navigator.
Oh yeah, I was in the science row back then. I had
Um,
Jamie's job.
We found a lava collapse, so like where it kind of you end up with a big air bubble.
Yeah, the
an air
sheet
pocket,
flow. Yeah.
or the stuff the lava flows up, forms, and then it retreats, and so you end up with rock at the top, and then usually the top will collapse because it's a weak point. And so we went into one of those and like well underneath the rock face, and Argus is like kind of like perched at the very top at what looks like sea level, and Herc's 20 meters below him.
We were calling that when we came upon one of those in like it was late at night, and it was like it looked like the lost city. Really, it just the chambers were very kind of square, and there were so many of them, and the way it collapsed, it just looked like
Yeah, like somebody else had made it.
right.
That was like, we did I forget where we were. I think it was off the coast of California. We did a dive, and I was the only Herc pilot on board. It was like a 6 or 7 hour dive. It was really long.
Oh, I remember that one. We had someone sitting next to you feeding you while while you were piloting. It's an 8-hour dive.
They
Yeah, I
brought
remember
up some grapes.
How long was? It was 8 hours to get to the bottom, or
No, I was just the only Herc pilot on the ship.
Yeah, it was like a
And,
last minute. Oh, we'll do a Herc dive
It
on
was
this
like
transit
like
cruise or
like, hey,
something.
could we do a dive here? And so we did a dive, and it ended up being I think 7 hours.
Yeah.
oh, you couldn't get out of the seat.
Yeah.
Oh my
Right.
goodness.
There was no one else to relieve him.
Wow.
And but what we saw were all these things that were either what seemed perfectly round or right angles, and like those are two things that you don't really see in nature. Turns out they were all naturally made, and it was similar to a mud volcano. Like it was getting kind of like pushed up and kind of like ballooning out and hardening, and then would break off. So you'd have these perfectly round pieces.
There was I think it's Osborne Bank. There's one of the banks in Channel Islands. The wave action was so strong because it's offshore quite a bit. But it was almost, I mean, it was eerie. Getting to the base of it was flat, just plain, and then stacks of Herc-sized spherical rocks. And just like the whole thing was all around the same size. They were all huge and they were all very sphere-like, just stacked up. It looked totally eerie, surreal. That's a really cool landscape.
Yeah, some of the landscapes are fascinating.
Jan, can you explain to our audience why we are choosing to explore the Bodega Canyon in particular? It's one of the questions on our live feed.
Well, in 2015, the sanctuary nearly doubled in size. Cordell Bank National Marine Sanctuary nearly doubled in size. And as part of that expansion, Cordell Bank acquired Bodega Canyon. And so it hasn't been investigated. It hasn't been explored. And it's been recently mapped through numerous mapping efforts. It's a very large, interesting feature within the sanctuary, and so it's mostly, you don't really know what to protect or what needs to be emphasized, and if there's any sensitive habitats or sensitive species in an area unless you go look. So that's what we're doing this week, is really kind of investigating the deeper portions of Cordell Bank National Marine Sanctuary that really is new to the sanctuary recently within the last, since 2015.
Someone in our audience would like to know if we have any plans to visit the deep water of the Caribbean.
We did do some exploring around the Caribbean a few years ago, but right now we're sticking along the sort of Eastern Pacific range.
Yeah, I always get, it's always funny, like you talk about the land as the north, like Pacific Northwest, but if you were talking about the ocean, it would be like the Northeast Pacific. Just have to reorder the words. That's caused many issues in the past.
All of those white specks that you see is what they call marine snow. Jamie, can you explain to the audience what composes marine snow? That's one of the questions on the live feed.
Well, she's looking up sea butterflies right now.
Oh,
Oh, there
okay.
you go. Yeah, oh, she's back.
So marine snow is made up of little bits of organic matter that are floating down from higher up in the water column. So that can include things like feces from other animals, shed skin cells, little bits of decaying organisms, mucus. Yeah, those are the main things I can think of.
I'm looking at her face, and she's like, "Ooh."
I'm just trying to think of other things. I think those are some of the main components.
Yeah.
There are also little tiny organisms floating down that sort of get mixed in with the marine snow as well. So we're seeing some organisms that are able to independently move in addition to the particles that are just drifting down. But marine snow provides a vital food resource for different animals in the deep sea because it eventually settles down on the seafloor, and there are a number of detritivores that crawl around eating the marine snow that's fallen down there because food is very scarce down there.
Okay, the NOAA definition of marine snow is a shower of organic material falling from the upper waters to the deep ocean.
Does it have examples?
Well, I'm on the video section. Debris that originates from the top layers. Mostly like what you just said, organic detritus. But Brandy, I think we're just kind of looking at a lot of zooplankton in the water column also. And that's just all of these little animals that are planktonic. And we're kind of throwing them in with marine snow. But really marine snow is the detritus, the organic detritus to kind of decaying material.
Yeah. Good morning for those of you who are tuning in from Sweden. Thank you for tuning in to Nautilus Live. someone in the audience has a question. They decided to take a risk. They are saying with the advancement of technologies, it's becoming more economically feasible to explore the deep sea. So after reading articles about deep sea mining for iron nodules and other minerals, is there a safe way to mine for these minerals, or will any disturbance disrupt the ecosystem?
So there are some companies looking into mining hydrothermal vents. Some have already started. It is potentially a disruptive process to the seafloor.
I think that company went under.
Oh yeah?
There was a company that was actually called Nautilus that was
Oh,
undersea mining.
no, there's a different one that started.
I think the fact is it's inevitable, and part of the characterization that we do is to try and make it so that when it does happen, it doesn't happen to some of the hot spots of life.
Hey, Brandy, do you have Google on your computer? Do you have a web browser?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, look up deep sea mining interests in the Clarion Clipper Zone. Clarion Clipper Zone is a deep sea fracture zone. And you'll see all sorts of...
Yeah, there's an article in either Science or Nature recently about that. I was reading that.
I think it's the Clarion Clipperton zone.
Oh, Clipperton, you are correct. Clapperton, what did I say, Clapper?
All right, let's speed up a little bit.
Clipperton. Yeah, Clarion Clipperton zone. I think didn't the Nautilus on their way back here at least investigate that a little bit? Maybe they mapped it?
This year we were supposed to, but we ended up not going down that far. But it was on the way back from Hawaii last year. There was some mapping down there.
Yeah. I know that there are, because it's in international waters, and there's they've kind of partitioned it off between different countries.
Yeah, I think the Belgians are out there doing work.
Yeah, it's multinational, international kind of zones. I wouldn't say that they divided it up for certain, but there's numerous countries that are interested in these fracture zones for mining.
So actually Dan knows a lot about this. I think some of his ROV work has been kind of prospecting and surveying.
Oh.
About an hour and a half towards the surface. I'll give us half an hour to go from 50 meters to on deck.
That'll be good.
I wonder who's going to be in the crane. Jess hasn't done a bunch of recoveries.
Miles is getting up, or he's staying up. It's calm though.
It is, it's nice
So
out.
maybe Jess will do it. done it a few times this year from what I've seen.
Yeah, she's run recovery, I think, a few times.
Yeah.
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 What's the difference between recovery and launching as far as kind of like I want to say the scenarios and the difficulty?
Well,
But I was gonna say the easiest is, you know those, I was thinking about those cups that have the ball on a string and you try to catch it on the string.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to dump the ball over the side than it is to get the ball back in the cup.
Yeah. Well, one thing is time. So launch was, you know, we don't have to deal with the daisy chain and parting the lift line and all that. So there's a lot more time on recovery that it takes to get Hercules back on deck. And any
Right.
time you have dealing with adverse weather conditions.
Anytime you're between, our safe zone is 50 meters of cable out.
Mhm.
If Argus or Herc is within that safe zone, then
Can't bump into the
you're
ship.
you're in a risk scenario. So the more time you spend in a risk scenario, the more likely something bad's going to happen. So you try to do the recovery as quickly as possible, but again, it's a combination of methodical is good, and you know, so it's like slow and steady is going to win the race. However, you still want to get it done as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And with a launch, again, it is slow and steady, but there's less to do because it's one thing to lower Herc down near the water and then lower straight into the water without any concern about anything else. Pull it, get the crane back in, and you're swinging outboard, so you're swinging your heavy weight away from people instead of swinging your heavy weight towards people, which is another challenge. So the launches are quicker and easier, and recoveries are longer and have a little bit of a higher danger factor.
Another thing is we lose our USBL only works at a certain slant range. So when we're at the surface, you can't really tell where the vehicles are, which is fine on launch because we know where they are and then they go down. But on recovery, you want them to, they're kind of between 50 meters and the surface. I wouldn't say that it's unknown where they are because we have our
Temp probe doesn't work.
Our butt cams that are facing both vehicles and the
Here, watch. I'm gonna fix it.
compasses to have an idea. But like we were saying, if there's some countercurrents at the thermocline or anywhere, it's really, you can come up and be a little bit not oriented the way you want to be for recovery, and then you have to resolve that at the surface.
Our temp probe is
With
really cold.
ship moves, heading changes, and well, mainly just, you know, steaming forward, stepping over to port or starboard.
And a lot of times those currents on the surface are a lot stronger than the currents that we're going to deal with when we're at depth.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Herc can only
can't-
fight so
yeah,
hard.
Herc can only fight so hard in the currents, and sometimes you have to try and get it centered up so you can do the recovery without pulling Argus into the A-frame or pulling, you know, causing Argus to jerk a bunch on the back deck while people are around Argus, and and you can only do so much. So, you know, having an experienced nav is great because they will move the ship to match you, or like to get you into the right spot. I don't know. Well, we'll find out when we stop at 50 meters.
But if you power cycle it, can you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone in the audience would like to know, how fast can Hercules go?
Like a brisk walk.
Is that vertically or horizontally?
I would go with horizontally. Vertically, we can do, let's see, what have we got right now? We are doing a blistering 20 meters per minute. So that's about 60 feet in a minute. Roughly. Which is, again, kind of like a brisk walk. Except it's hard to walk vertically. Did you turn it back on? Might have a startup cycle, but right now it's not updating. Yeah. Yep, we updated your GUI. And for those of you listening, GUI stands for Graphical User Interface. And for those of you not listening, you didn't hear me.
The fact is still true even if you don't hear it.
Or you don't like it.
Or if you don't like it, it's still true.
If Greg says a fact in the bottom of the ocean and no one's around to hear it,
Is it still
is it
true?
still a fact?
I mean, based on Rennie's prior logic, yes.
Yeah.
It shouldn't change just because I'm the one who said it.
So is that from 2001: A Space Odyssey, or is that Alien?
What's
Which movie
that?
is that from? The if you scream in outer space and nobody
that
hears
one,
you,
yeah.
does anybody hear? Is it whatever?
Well, which came first, that or the if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears?
I think
Well,
the,
that one does.
the tree in the forest is the old one.
Is it?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. I think trees were around long before 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I think space was around before trees, though, so it's kind of.
Touche. Yeah.
Oh, what is that?
What is that?
A holothurian this far up? No, it can't be. It's not swimming either. Well, we'll never know.
Aaron could zoom. Nope. Too
A
late.
mystery yet to be solved.
Yeah, it's funny. I would like to see the trend of the average.
Yeah, I
go-
was going to see if
go
I
all
could
the
get
way
the
down
max
like
from
that.
Justin.
Yeah, I'm sure you can get that all.
Oh, I was stuck.
That's not right.
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like looking up. Man, so let's see.
That's not right.
Yeah, string USBL ping.
I got my head stuck.
Uh-oh. Velcro?
Yeah.
Are you eating crow? Velcro getting stuck? That was so cool.
That was wild, yeah.
Oh, now
I
the
personally
tempo
like
is
that
updating.
lingcod with the rockfish half in its mouth.
Aww.
And it was like really, I think it bit off more than it could chew.
Or
But
swallow.
Both literally and
Yeah.
figuratively.
It really wasn't a bite. It was more like a, I'm
Yeah.
going to capture you and I'm going to swallow
Like
you
it
whole.
was snake-like.
It's updating.
Yes.
Very.
Serpentine. Oh, did it update? Jamie, what's in the sample jars?
Cool stuff.
That's a great question, Rennie. The sample sheets, however, have gone out on a walkabout down to the data lab. I'm
Oh.
waiting for them to return.
Okay.
There's a couple of different types of black corals. There's a couple of soft corals, like a couple of different types of umbellellas. Several sponges, all of which were very interesting. And then there's
Do we get any rocks? They wouldn't be in the sample jars
No.
anyway, but if
no rocks.
no rocks.
Bamboo corals, the kind of like the sea whip bamboo corals.
I know
What
we
else?
had one push core, the one we took at the beginning when we first landed on bottom, and we have 2 niskins.
2 niskins.
And we have 2 or 3 slurps.
I think we might have had
Looks like they skipped 1 niskin.
4 slurps.
Yeah.
Hopefully the sample sheets will come back soon so we can confirm some of this.
A very nice variety of corals and sponges. Oh, the solitary hydroid. That was one of the samples.
Oh, we did get one of those?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, a branching sea whip bamboo coral.
Branching or unbranching?
Branching. A lot of the sea whip bamboo corals are just one, and we collected one that had a couple of branches, just one branch on it.
Interesting.
And another black coral.